Hey there, welcome back to Flourish 2019. We're almost at the end of the event, and I'm so excited because we are finishing this event with two powerful queens. Today, I'm going to introduce you to my lovely, dear, awesome friend. Her name's Tanya Lewis. She's going to talk to us today about having a rich life and what that really means. And no, it's not just about money, ladies, although we do need to get comfortable having conversations and dealing with money, because without it, what kind of a legacy are you really able to lead? So Tanya Lewis is going to share with us how to create that rich life on the inside, on the outside, in our relationships, our health, our bodies, and yes, our bank accounts. Welcome, Tanya. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you, girl. And I always love, I know that we had a couple little hiccups with, we had to call our technology angels in, but ultimately, like, I always love our time, Christina. And it's always so like filling and refreshing and renewing just to cultivate this atmosphere together and to be able to create together. So thank you for having me, and also for doing the work, for this gorgeous body of work that you've put together. I know what it takes to do all of the specific things that go into a summit, and you're always so on point and so about blessing your community and making sure that you're making a huge difference. So I'm really honored to be a part, and I'm honored to be with all of you gorgeousnesses who are here at this beautiful virtual table, really pulling up and celebrating you, showing up for you and investing in yourself and getting ready to rock out some more of your goodness, flourishing and creating this next part of your legacy. We'll do some good stuff today.
Yeah, I'm so excited, and thank you for the compliments. I can receive that. And before we started the recording today, we were talking about what it means to be a queen. And I know that's not what we planned on talking about exactly today, but I do really want to capture some of this for the audience so that they can just feel this and get it into the cells of their bodies, or at least get a seed planted in them so that they understand who they really are and what they're really meant for. Do you want to talk about that a little bit today?
Sure, it's one of my favorite subjects.
Okay, good. Well, you represent it really well, so I can't wait to dive in.
It's a work in progress, and you know what they say, we don't look like what we've been through. So I'm always grateful when we have the opportunity to kind of talk about how to make those shifts from when we're in kind of that less than vibe into more of our own personal royalty and divinity.
Yeah. So I'll be vulnerable and I'll share a little bit that this morning before we recorded this talk, or meant to record this talk, I had two little bombs go off in my life in two different relationships. And I was dealing with like some anger and some upset, and I didn't want to be angry at the person because I knew that wasn't right. And I didn't want to blame myself. And I was kind of stuck processing this. And then I was sharing this with Tanya because it interfered our ability to be here on time together. And she shared with me, the fact that these situations get created in our lives because we make ourselves available for them. And now we get to choose again about what we're available for and what we're not. So let's talk about that, because I know a lot of women in the audience feel they kind of go back and forth between everybody else matters more than me, I'll do anything you need me to, right? And then that gets too heavy for us, and we end up lashing out. We end up becoming resentful, blowing up, angry. And then the people in our life kind of look at us like we're crazy. And we're like, are we crazy? What is going on here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think when it's all said and done, like just like what we were discussing is recognizing that we always have the luxury of choice. You know, we're having a conversation about thriving and really creating from that space and flourishing and creating a legacy. And ultimately that legacy only gets created based on our choices. And so depending on what our inner, like how we're set and where our inner compass is, if we're in a space of just allowing whatever kind of flows versus consciously creating and coming from a space where we are in what we can kind of, let's look at the queen, like when we're really, like when we're queening up, there's a different way of being. And in that space, we're conscious, we're clear, right? Like we're clear on what the vision for our life, what's best for our flow, and we're not in any blame game. We're 100% responsible for the results that we have in our life and for our legacy and for the way that we're doing life in general. And ultimately, you know, first of all, let's think of the queen too as like the queen is benevolent. So like not the nasty queens that we've all seen who are acting all cray cray. Like we're talking about being in our majesty, as what I see is like for myself is like being a child of God, being a daughter of the Most High, and recognizing that every single situation that comes up, I have the choice. I have the power for how to handle it, how to create it or recreate it. And ultimately, like when we're in our queen, where we're really on our throne, like we straighten out our crown and we get that if we've not been experiencing what we want in our own lives, that we are the queens that can do something about that. And, you know, no matter what we've attracted, as you were saying, like we've been available for it. So if we're lacking money, it's because we're available to have less. If we're lacking a loving, healthy relationship or relationships, friendships, even in the communities that we move through, it's because we're available for that. And when we become unavailable, same thing with health, same thing with, you know, our lifestyle. If it's boring, if it's not fulfilling, it's because we're available for it. And when we get unavailable for less than, and the queen rises, things shift. Because the queen is also so responsible that we don't blame people. We don't source our happiness from people. We don't expect people to make us happy. They can make us happier, but we don't look for that. And we don't expect anyone else to do our business, to shift our money story. Like we're 100% in the game, committed to actually shifting anything into the trajectory and the level and the frequency that we require. And it's just such a different way of being. And also we're really kind and benevolent to ourselves, right? So just as we were talking about, like when something happens and we're not feeling it, and maybe something really awful did occur, then as a queen, instead of saying he did, she did, da 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 da, we really can bring it back to us and say, what's the opportunity here? Which is so much more empowering. And then what do I need to do to shift this? Do I need to have a conversation, again, in a very queenly manner, right? And within my value system. And what do I require that really is going to leave me in peace? Because I think, you know, we're here to talk about some money and we're here to talk about getting free in that way. But our currency really is peace. And that's what I've learned about the queen within, is that she really, and each of us, each of you women listening, like all of you, you're all queens already. Sometimes we just forget. Sometimes you just get off your throne. You know, the crown is like on the ground. We go into all the less than. We're accepting things that are all about settling. And the beauty of the queen is that she's always connected. Like we're always connected to our beautiful feminine hearts. We're always connected to the sacredness of ourselves and our lives and our legacy. We know what we desire and what we require. And when I say the word require, like it's not in this haughtiness. That's the queen is always in some form or fashion in a level of humility. Because remember that humility is when you've really restrained some of the power you do have. And you're able to walk in a level of self-control and discipline. Because ultimately, when you discipline yourself and your way of being, you attract things that actually do create a lot of bliss, because you're cultivating. The queen is really strategic. So we're strategic in our prayer life. We're strategic in how we feed our bodies, how we nourish ourselves, how we nourish our spirit and soul, who we have around us, what our level of counsel is. You know, we create an atmosphere that embodies the royalty, beauty, essence, the divinity, and all of this supports us. And so when we're unconscious and we kind of go more into like the slave girl, or we're unaware that we have the power to shift anything. It's just a beautiful thing when you can look at your world in a different way and from the eyes of your inner queen. And that way of being, when we're creating from that frequency, everything gets clearer. You start to see who or what is essential, where you need more support, where you need to be taught and mentored, or who needs to go that has been bringing you messages that don't support the kind of queendom that, again, you're available for. So this is, it's just such a big shift to really take 100% responsibility and start to recognize that we've been given the gift of life. And as the queens that we are, not that we can become, but that we really are, we have to remember, like it's time to remember. And when we get back to truth, and sometimes for some of you, it's the first time that anyone's ever really reminded you or told you of your divinity, of your royalty, of your privilege. And when we get to that truth, we show up different. We don't accept the scraps. And it's just not about money. It's about how you're willing to feel every day, how you're willing to process what your spirit feels like. We're just different. We embody, and therefore we create differently. So we got to keep the queen before us. We've got to connect to our inner queen and really raise that standard and that frequency, not just for ourselves, but we're talking about legacy here. We have our younger women that are watching us. And I know myself as a mother of 6, and with 3 of those being girls, and now my grandbabies, my granddaughter, I see how she understands communication based on what she'll watch in all of the women around her. And, same for my daughters. So we got to queen up. We got to take our power back and form that alliance, become a lot more strategic in our world, and queens are even good in the art of war. And that's something that, we don't talk about a lot, but you do need to be strategic when it comes to resolving things that have been a battle. But there's a queenly way to do that too. And so I think when we bring, that queen archetype into our lives, you start checking things. You just start paying attention. Like, is this how I'd really be eating if I were a queen? Is this how I'd be doing my business? Would I be DIYing it and trying to rough it out and taking 3 and 5 years to do this? Or would I accelerate and fast track and invest in a coach who's already done it and who has the lifestyle that I want? And that was the best thing, Christina. Like we've had such great mentoring, and we've also had such great collaboration and friendship with other women who are only available to keep rising, to keep checking in, and to keep, moving forward on our journey. And ultimately, like I know I can say for myself, I would not have the life that I have now and the inner way of being had I not had some amazing women like go before me and really do this mentoring. And I was past this blessing of you have what you're available for. Mm-hmm. And so this is just a great time to check in and really, be asking, what do I have in my life that I'm settling for or that I don't like? Is it because I'm available for this? And most of the time we've been taught to be available. We've been taught just take what you get, and this is how it goes, and all these other lies. And that it's haughty to actually have a vision for yourself and to want peace. And these are just simply things that to live this richer life and to be the richer and the best version of yourself, we have to start to embody more of the queen within and put her up front to do our bidding versus operating in our old ways.
Mm-hmm. So we're not talking about like the crooked, evil witches that think are above other people.
Never, ever, ever, ever. That isn't even real royalty. That's another lie we've been sold, that all that messiness and, treating people in a way that you're not benevolent to all. No, queens are humble, loving, gracious, merciful, and And queens understand that others are doing the best that they can and the level of consciousness and awareness that they have. And a good queen also really is generous to give back and make sure that others are always feeling better because we've been in their presence. And that's a big deal. That's a daggone big deal. In fact, I really had that blessing and opportunity this morning with a lady that called me about some stuff for coaching. And, you know, it really, really touched me that in the space that she was in life, she was very, very far from being able to make an investment in coaching. But I wanted to make sure that she had an experience with me and knew that I saw her at the level of where she can be. Because I can see the queen within her, regardless of what her finances dictate right now. I saw the opportunity for her to connect to her truth. And, you know, again, that's where the queen comes forth, that we don't just deal with people that we think have less education or less experience. I mean, first of all, for me, I don't look like what I come from. The life that I live today is a reality that I saw first in my mind's eye. But it wasn't the dynamic that I came up in. And I mean, I'm a girl who left home at 15 and was out in the world for a while trying to figure stuff out and had a whole bunch of like crazy thinking. And, you know, it was really a product of my environment in so many different ways. And so I don't have to look too far over my shoulder to remember that. But bigger than that, I love that the more that we queen up and we access our richer life and our richer way of being, and we start to get very strategic and we start to, you know, implement the things that really are going to make the difference, that we got to literally roll out the red carpet for the other women who haven't had that yet. Because we're nothing but grace. We're nothing but mercy here. And the real queens know that. So for the others who are calling themselves that, we send love and graciousness to them too, because they've just learned it wrong. And that's why we've got to model it right, ladies. We've got a responsibility to shape the landscape of this world differently for ourselves, to enjoy the life and the legacy and the purpose that we're made for, but also for the women that are coming behind us, the children, the people. It's the global thing. Like each of you, you're essential to the flow of this planet. And we first have to get it right within ourselves. And then we're able to model and we're really able to be generous and benevolent and start to live our purpose so that we start shifting things really quickly.
I could hear the big sigh of relief from so many women watching us right now to see you here now and to hear you speak and to feel your presence and to know that you left home at 15 and you were out there trying to figure things out and right. And like, obviously, yeah. So it's just good. It was just such a relief to hear that, you know, and I'm sure so many of us feel that way. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
With us and for also talking about what real humility means, because I think that's a word, at least for me, it was like, I looked it up in the dictionary. When I first heard humility, I was like, what is that? I tried looking up in the dictionary. I'm still like, I'm a smart girl, but I'm like, what is that? You know, and it took a while to allow the experience. And that's really how we learn, right? We learn from experience, not so much the books, which is why it's so important that when we know we need support, that we reach out to people who have support in their lives so that they can support us and who have the life or the change or the transformation or the step that we want to step into.
Exactly.
Yeah. So humility means not above, which is what you just spoke about, and then not below, that old slave girl. Everybody's more important than me. My needs don't matter. And that's just kind of bending over backwards. And that's not good for people. It's so interesting because aren't we trained in this world to think, especially as women, that that's what love is?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just the opposite when you really think about it. Like if you've seriously got somebody in your life who's not treating you right, by allowing them to continue to treat you that way, you're condoning and enabling that ego-centered behavior in that, quote, abuser. So Neil Donald Walsh said it in Conversations with God. He said, to allow an abuser to continue to abuse is an abuse to the abuser.
Wow. Wow.
So you're not doing our clients any favors when we lower our prices or we give it away for free. We're not doing our partners, friends, family members favors when we take a beating verbally, mentally, emotionally, financially, sometimes even sexually, right? We're not doing the world a favor by playing small and letting people walk all over us. And we know that. So then we finally get to that point of like, screw this, I'm not putting up with this anymore. But that's dangerous too. And so now we've gone to that other extreme of like the evil witch, the mean queen, and now we're going to make them pay. So there's this middle ground, and you called it earlier alliance versus compliance, which is the slave girl stuff, and rebellion, which is the I'm going to show you. So you're calling it alliance. Would you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I loved everything that you said, because it's so true, and it's so time for us to have a higher standard, like on every level. And so much of this has been culturally conditioned. You know, we've had these traumas, we've had these experiences, we've had this, literally, we've been bred to believe a certain thing about where we source our value. And it is in giving, and it is in doing. And, you know, if you think about it, women are also chosen for looks, and women are chosen for what they can do to take care of everyone in terms of, you know, just kind of the societal roles that we've played, and then nurturing and doing and giving. And ultimately, you know, when you add that to the collective consciousness of being unconscious, that we have to do more to be loved more or to be accepted, that's where that martyrdom, and that's where not having a feeling or a sense of self has been, you know, like promoted. And these messages have been wrong. Like, we can do the best for ourselves, the world, for God, for our children, our legacies, our families, as you said, to raise our standard in regard to how we treat us, not other people, but how we take care of us or what we feel about ourselves. And we do have to do some undoing. You know, that's a lot. It's a lot of the work that I know, Christina, I know you do. And it's a lot of the work that I do with business women, because sometimes when women are trying to figure out why they can't make more money or why they can't produce results in their business, underneath that, there's that subconscious thing that's running that says, I'm not enough. I'm unworthy of this kind of success. I'm unworthy of this kind of lifestyle. And so everything gets sabotaged. Like, that's sabotaged before you ever get to talking about your business. You're going to sabotage it some way and literally push back the bigness and the goodness. And, you know, we're very rarely saying, well, how good am I really willing to let this get? There's always that cap. There's always a cutoff and an upper limiting. And again, that has to be undone. And when we go into the wounds and find out exactly what message, what blueprint's running the show, and then we insert the truth, and then there's a process of reprogramming that. That's when the marketing starts to work. That's when the sales work. That's when it's all about who you're being, that gets put out to the world. Because when our whole self isn't going out, like, how are we really expecting whole results? So, you know, when we deal with this in the business model, a lot of times people have a disconnect, just thinking that what happened in childhood has absolutely nothing, it's not related. What happened in your teen years or in your first marriage or in these situations where you attracted people, as you were mentioning, Christina, that there were levels of abuse, or there was just abandonment, neglect, rejection. And this can happen in everything, even in spiritual communities. And so when you dealt with these things and you're not making the connection that this is why you treat yourself with less worth, once you start to get that all of these messages have given you the wrong impression and the wrong inner dynamic, then once you're awake to this, you can really start to be conscious yourself. It's never about everyone else waking up. It's about us waking up. And if we've been invisible to the world, once we get visible to ourselves, that shifts. Once your needs become a precedent, And until they do, to operate in that lower way as if you have no value and not to take care of yourself in every way, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially. That's one of the big ones that women make a disconnect on, is as if money is separate, and money is a way of redefining your self-esteem and your self-worth, allowing more in to live your purpose and to be able to be generous and to do what you came here to do. All of this is so vital, and we haven't seen it as necessary for caring for ourselves, because when you don't feel that you have the worth and value, you're not focusing on creating from a place of, I'm worthy of peace. I'm worthy of a healthy relationship, not with these toxic dynamics. And I'm worthy of financial, consistent inflows of money and clients and promotions if you're, in a job. And so shifting these ways of being and having a different way of thinking, it's like we will have to, do some serious exploration as to who and what no longer serves, when we're clear that taking care of ourselves is really honoring God. Because when we're not, and we're like, my needs don't matter, and I say this with so much love, but that is such an outdated statement. And I just with so much love, like, it doesn't serve anyone. Our need to be whole, to feel joy, to be fulfilled. Free women, free women. Free women, free men. Free women, free children. So we have to put ourselves at the top. We can make the most out of our life and unto God, or whatever your belief is spiritually, as we make the best out of ourselves. So living a rich life and becoming the richest part of you and flourishing, this isn't a legacy that we get a replay on. It's a now thing. And the healthier and the wealthier and the more in tune and inclined to recognize that we have to meet our own needs and be honest about them and create the safety for yourself so that you actually do feel safe. Because a lot of times you really are already safe, but that little girl or that younger part of yourself or the woman who just got a wound doesn't feel that because of those experiences. And so we have to really transform and look at the truth. And we are the only ones that can do this for us. But that old stuff, it's not even 80s, it's ancient. And we're better than this as women. We really are. And it's time to give ourselves permission to allow ourselves to be free and to have what we really want and to live life in a way that, again, when we really know what God's precedent is and what our birthright is, you're not gonna be out somewhere in the distant shambles when you get that there's a castle made for you and it has your name on it. It's actually your legacy. And if you found that out at any time, we'd go running for our stuff. And it might be difficult to make the shift, but that's what mentors, that's what counsel is for. That's what having another woman who's already done that work, who went from that lowly place and was able to rise up and create the freedom and create the lifestyle and have the healthy balance. Because having, as you were saying, Christina, the paradigm of, I don't really need that and my needs aren't important as long as I'm taking care. I can tell you, even having adult women now for daughters, my daughters have thanked me over and over and over again for modeling certain things to them. And they're happier when they see us happy, ladies, and balanced. So there's a balance in being very generous. The better you are, the better off everyone is. And if they're the only reason you want to get better, then let them be your inspiration and your reason for the moment. Because your community, the people in your life, those you love, for some of you, it's your parents. If they right now can be the only reason that you break into a new way of seeing, enjoying more of the better parts of life for yourself, then let that be your focus, whatever it takes. But let's get on with it.
Mm-hmm. I love that you hit on the point that we're not talking about leaving a legacy later. Like, we are real time here. Your children are watching you right now. Everything's happening right now. You are leaving a legacy. And Melissa Binkley talked about this at the very beginning. And I think it's important to remind everybody that you're leaving a legacy one way or the other, and you're doing it every moment of every day.
That's right. That's right. And I love what you just said, Christina, right now. Like, you know, what's beautiful is for those of you that you're here and you're actually tuning into this legacy, like straight up queen stuff, because you're investing in yourself, you're redefining and changing the muscle, growing the muscle that I have value, my life matters, and me and my expansion and being able to be different is super important. And I'm the woman who puts the work in. I match my actions with what I say I desire. That's that integrity. And, you know, I just realized I didn't talk about the compliance and rebellion, but that's it too, right? Is compliance can be what you learned of, like, kind of keep everyone happy, don't rock the boat, or be silent, kind of constrict and bow down, or go low and stay small and hidden and never really connect to your truth. Stay within the rules, stay within the beliefs of others. And then there's rebellion. And a lot of times what happens is that as women, we swing it way to the other side the second you can do what you want. And that's where, you know, usually it's the version of yourself that you even really don't like. And it's like going way to the other side and not showing up how you really desire to show up if you felt like you could compose yourself, and not making the choices that are healthy, but sometimes they go and they become destructive. And alliance is right in the middle. So that means, like, whether it's conflict resolution or something, it's not using your voice and speaking your truth and setting better boundaries, and, you know, not being available to operate in codependent ways of controlling everyone else's behavior by being compliant, but instead being in your truth. You swing that to the middle. It's not going off and acting crazy. You know, it does. And here's the thing, when that happens, a queen knows how to forgive herself.
Right?
You know, we're all still practicing here. It's not a perfect thing.
Yeah, I love you so much. I love you even more for that. That's great.
And then you're just like, oh, what just happened here? We know how to get back in alliance, even just forgiving ourselves, not crucifying ourselves. We're not shooting ourselves down. We're not going to be in this ugly self-talk for weeks and how awful we are. You know, you bring it back to alliance, but alliance is always where you can keep your values, you're in your truth, and you're in that middle ground. And sometimes that takes being more prayerful, you know, having, again, some good mentoring, coaching, learning how to blend that fiery fierceness and the woman who will check out and self-abandon and like totally not be there for you and just comply with tradition, society, rules, you know, what everyone else has chosen or said is better or best for you. And again, not freaking out, going way over here. It's bringing it right to the middle. And that's on everything. We can take that to the way we do food and our bodies. We can take it to how we do money. We can take it to how we do relationships, communication, the whole nine. Start to think about how to be right in that gorgeous middle in alliance. Everything blended, everything in your power. Alliance is actually the power. And that's the thing. That's that humility piece, that there's sometimes that you don't have to say everything that you know, because an inner power restrains you from that. And there's a time that you're gracious and you're still in your truth. And I think we have to get good at that as women, learning how to speak our truth, to have solid boundaries and be very clear and clear about what we expect and clear about what we're up for and what we're available for. And again, doing it in a way that's really gracious and that leaves us feeling right. You know, if you feel good over there, just personally, I haven't met women that are happy, that feel like they're way on the other side of disrespecting themselves and what they feel is right. And we don't have to keep repeating those patterns. You know, we can have a richer life, a richer business. Everything is based on us. And, you know, to live our legacy, the legacy is, it's going to be better formed when we're in alliance. And ultimately, like you said, the legacy is now. Like, yes, we're going to leave some things. There's an energetic footprint that we're all going to leave. But right now, legacy is today. It's right now. It's everything that you're going to do even after you finish, you know, watching our video. It's what you do from here. It's how you're showing up. It's how you're being. It's how you're responding to different things and how you're actually cultivating what you say is important in your life. That's your legacy. And smiling at people, loving on people, giving to what matters to you now. We're living our legacy now, and we're creating it moment to moment. When you're being good to you, when you wake up and you decide to let the sun shine in, and you decide to immerse yourself and lavish yourself with beauty, even if it's just the basics of nature, you're creating a legacy. The woman that you are, you're known to those around you. You have a brand. Brands aren't just for business. We all have a brand, and you get to decide what that looks like. So you don't have to let the past define what your legacy is anymore. And your legacy, no matter what you inherited from your family of origin, the lifestyle you've lived, you know, no matter what it is, trust me, if we had some time to like really go into it and break the books out, this girl here, I am telling you, there's rarely a person that I meet that I'm not vibing with, because I'm just like, oh, I did that. Or like, I know someone who did. They were my homies. Mm-hmm. And so ultimately, like, you know, the past is the past. The point of power is in the present. And our future is open. And it's based on what we decide to do today. And if we're going to make powerful decisions to heal our money core and to get healthier in regard to how we see money, because it's touching everything. And we have to get more aligned and get that alliance, right? Not way over here where we're willing to be in struggle, feast and famine, not have a lifestyle and a business that's really our truth. And we're just sitting on the sidelines watching every woman that has it, have at it. And then we don't want to be way over here where we're so driven and we're all cray-cray chasing. Alliance is coming into what is my purpose on this earth. And my firm belief is that we need a lot of money to live our purpose, to be as generous and contributing to take the best care of ourselves so we can feel and look amazing and get out and shine and radiate and do more from a place of feeling good. And we're able to have the kind of support that we need and create and make those investments for ourselves. We have to get better at our money story. We have to get better at how we're relating and not be way over here or way over here. We got to bring it to the middle where our truth is, and really then start to take those aligned actions. Mm-hmm. And if we don't, our legacy isn't going to be what it really was meant to be. And I know that if you're a woman that's listening to this, it's not what you're about. So there has to be, like, we have to stop checking out. We have to stop. Like, no one's coming to save us. And I'm telling you, I'll be 50 in just a few short months. If there's one thing that I know, like, no one is going to create your legacy the way that God brought you here to do it. No one's going to do it for you. And just as Christina, you were saying earlier, creating boundaries for those that aren't aligned with the way that you are wanting to do life, you're actually supporting those people. You're actually, helping those people be free of their abusive or lower level or less conscious way of being, as you're deciding not to try and change them, but you're just showing what you're available for, that you're only available to create the life and the lifestyle that your heart desires. And God put those desires there for a reason. So, we're really helping people when we start working on ourselves and helping ourselves and breaking out of these old paradigms. And all the rest is just simply a lie, because we don't get to do this again. And that also is what, over especially the last couple of years, if I really can appeal to any of your hearts that you're just, you're thinking you have forever to make these changes, I've watched so many people pass on very quickly, and many of them never allowed life to get better. They were not available to do the work and to make the necessary investments and to have, a sincerity and a consistency to create a different kind of reality than the one that they had once lived in. And that's heartbreaking. And then there were others that, even though they left here soon, too soon, for those of us that love them, the one great thing is that they used their lives. They did the work. They created what they were meant to. They created the legacy. It's here now. They lived the legacy, and then they created it. Their children are feasting on that legacy. They modeled what was right. They modeled how to come out of a lower life into a better life, the God life. And all of us have that ability. But what I'm clear on is today is the day. Like, today is the day. It's not a tomorrow thing. You have to stop being so patient with suffering. It's unnecessary and it's unbecoming. So I am calling every one of you that's listening to this. I'm calling you forward. You get yourself sitting at the right table. You are a queen. You are meant to sit at a table of wisdom, of the proper counsel, to learn how to do your business and life and money right, and your health and everything else, and to embody a new version of yourself. Today, you've already begun by being here, especially if you're still here rocking it out with Christina and I, because that's a woman who's serious about it. And transformation does take time, but it doesn't have to be like, you can bend time and space. You can really accelerate things. And if you're about fast tracking this and you're not willing to let your family, loved ones, children, parents, see you stay in a level that is not your real level, then today is the day to start making some serious decisions.
Yeah.
Because everything is hinged on that.
Yeah. Literally everything. I love that you said, stop being so patient with your suffering. Thank you. I know you have an incredible, super valuable free gift to share for the women who are really resonating with you right now and are serious and are like, yeah, Tanya, I hear you. What's next? Tell us about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, in the spirit of really being there for you, there's so much that we could go into. And of course, these things take time. And I know too that when you've listened to a lot of different things, you're gathering a lot of information. And sometimes it can feel overwhelming as to how do I actually put that into place in my life, in my situation. So what I am offering to each of you gorgeous souls that this speaks to and this resonates with is my Rich Life, Rich You Success session. And this is a time where we're going to come voice to voice. And for some of you that are out of the country, then we'll be coming face to face. And we're really going to dive into your life and look at the areas that you've struggled with, especially around money and business, if that's your jam, but in any area that it's time to up level. And I'm going to help you find the blocks, like what's really been keeping you from this, because there's always a root. And once we get that root, then I'm going to create a freedom and success plan for you. And it's going to be simple. It's going to be sustainable so that when you get off the call, you know exactly what to do next. And, if you could have already found it out or done it, you already have the results that you want. So I'm here for you. And my one disclaimer is that you do act fast amidst my travel schedule, my kiddos and my grandbabies and a full roster of clients from all over. Go and get your place. And that's how you'll start to queen up too, is be a woman that's intentional and move straightway. So get your spot, and when you go in, book your appointment and then show up for yourself, because this is the way that you remind yourself, I'm important, I have value, and I'm serious. Like you're sending out the literal radar that I'm available to become an entirely new woman with a much richer life, a much richer version of myself. And I am going to be waiting on that other side to just hold you and take good care of you and see what's next for you to rock out with your legacy.
Yeah, that really is such a gift and so incredible. Thank you so much for being so generous with these
Absolutely.
ladies here today and with us today, with your time and energy. I know you have a big day in front of you, and I've already kept you way longer than I promised, but we're so grateful. So, so grateful. For all of you listening, if you're resonating and you're serious, okay, and you're not going to waste anybody's time, not your own, not Tanya's, click the link below the video and claim your spot on her calendar. They do fill up very quick, and she is very busy, and she is being very generous today. So take advantage of the opportunity to speak with her, to meet with her, and to get your freedom and success plan. I'm so excited. I know that women's lives are going to change just from that one phone call. So again, thank you so much for your generosity.
Aw, thank you, darling. I've loved our time. You know, I could stay with you forever. Like, we just need our own 10-hour summit or something. Like,
I think you're right.
like whole
We
10
need
hours.
a podcast.
It went like this. It always goes.
I know. It's been a minute. It's been way longer than we promised you we would have you off. So
all good. It's all
yeah.
good. And I do love you, Christina, and I thank you for just trusting me with your gorgeous community. And ladies, same for you all. I love you. If no one has told you that today, I mean that. I don't have to know you to tell you. Like, you are so loved. You are so, so loved and so precious and so worthy. And I'm just sending you so much love and so much success energy. And even for those of you that I won't meet with, I just pray the best for you. And Christina, you know, girl, I love you. I loves me some Christina. I just absolutely love when we work together. And I just bless you, my sister, because you are one of the bright stars here. And you give and you do so much for making this world a better place just because you're here. So thank you again. And you know, I'll be talking to you on like the phone.
Yeah.
I love you, girl.
I love you too. And I love all of you. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you for taking this seriously. Thank you for making the investment for yourself, for your family, for our world. God bless you all. I'll see you in your inbox tomorrow. Bye-bye.